My husband claimed his twin brother was texting me as a prank. I believed him, until I found out they were sharing more than just a face. I've always found twins fascinating. The idea of two people sharing the same face, same DNA, but growing into different souls, it was poetic in a weird way. My husband, Marcus, and his twin brother, Malcolm, were identical in every way except temperament. Marcus was the calm, steady one. Malcolm was the wild card, the one who never seemed to take life seriously. When I first met them at a college party, it was Marcus who caught my attention. He was quieter, more observant. Malcolm tried to flirt with me that night too, which I brushed off as awkward twin energy. A few years later, Marcus and I were married. Malcolm lived in a different state, but he was always floating in and out of our lives, sometimes crashing on our couch for days at a time. About 6 months ago, I started getting flirty messages on Instagram from what looked like a fake account. I ignored them at first, but then the messages became more personal, things only someone close to me would know. I showed Marcus, and his reaction was odd. He didn't look surprised. He just sighed and said, "I bet that's Malcolm. He's always pulling shift like this." "Seriously?" I asked. "Why would your brother do this?" He shrugged. "He thinks he's funny. He used to catfish people in high school for fun." It felt off, but I let it go because, well, I trusted my husband. I even messaged the account, saying, "Hey Malcolm, not cool, knock it off." The account replied instantly with, "Relax, just playing around. You're cute when you're mad." I blocked it, but something lingered. Then strange things started happening. Once, Marcus left his phone at home, and a text popped up from Jenna. I opened it. Yes, I know, privacy invasion. But it wasn't from a Jenna. It was from someone who wrote, "I can't stop thinking about last night." When I confronted Marcus, he went pale. Then he told me something I wasn't prepared for. "That's Malcolm's number. He uses my name sometimes when he's out. I don't know why she's messaging me. Maybe he gave her my info by mistake." I laughed. "So you're telling me your brother pretends to be you to sleep with women?" He didn't answer, just stared at the floor. I knew then that something was horribly wrong. I decided to do what I should have done months ago. I called Malcolm directly. He sounded surprised at first, but then let out this little chuckle and said, "He told you?" "Who told me what?" "That we switch sometimes." I went cold. "Switch what?" "Everything. Women, names, sometimes even jobs, when he needs a break." "You really didn't know?" My ears started ringing. "You're telling me you and Marcus have been sharing me?" "Well, not without consent. I mean, not technically. He says you like it rough sometimes." And I hung up. I couldn't breathe. I confronted Marcus the second he walked through the door. I told him everything, what Malcolm said, what I'd read, the weird moments I thought were just off days. And you know what Marcus said? "I didn't think it mattered." Didn't think it mattered? That sometimes, it wasn't him making love to me, that the nights he came home too tired were Malcolm's turn. It felt like I'd been living in a twisted experiment. I started questioning every memory, every intimate moment. Was that really Marcus the night we conceived our daughter? Was he even in town? I filed for divorce the next morning. The betrayal wasn't just physical, it was psychological. I'd been robbed of my ability to even trust my own reality. Months later, I got a message from Malcolm. "For what it's worth, I liked you more than he ever did." I blocked the number and booked a therapist, because what they did, that wasn't just cheating. It was something darker. I didn't tell my family the details of why Marcus and I split. How do you even begin to explain something like that? "By the way, Mom, I've been sleeping with my husband's twin brother for years without knowing it." The humiliation burned deeper than the betrayal. Instead, I said we'd grown apart. Creative differences. Whatever generic excuse people would accept without pressing for details. My sister knew something was wrong. She kept giving me that look, the one that said she was waiting for the real story. But I couldn't form the words. The divorce proceedings were surprisingly smooth. Marcus didn't contest anything. He signed whatever papers I put in front of him, gave me the house, agreed to generous child support for Lily. It was as if he knew he had no ground to stand on, no defense that could possibly justify what he'd done. Only once did he try to explain. "It started before I met you," he said, voice low as we sat across from each other in my lawyer's office. "Malcolm and I, we've always had this thing." "This thing?" I repeated, my voice sharp enough to cut glass. "We shared everything growing up. Clothes, toys, friends. Our parents encouraged it. Two halves of the same person, they'd say." "I'm not a toy, Marcus." He looked down at his hands. "I know, but it doesn't feel like cheating when it's Malcolm. It's still me, in a way." That was the moment I knew there was no coming back from this. The man I thought I'd married didn't exist. Or rather, he existed in fragments, pieces shared between two bodies. After the divorce was finalized, I moved across town with Lily. She was only 4, too young to understand why Daddy didn't live with us anymore, but old enough to miss him. Every time Malcolm came to visit her, court-ordered visitation, carefully supervised, I watched them like a hawk, searching for signs that it wasn't Marcus. A gesture, an expression, something that would give away the switch. But the truth was, I couldn't tell. Not with certainty. And that realization was its own special kind of hell. "How long?" I asked him once, when he was dropping Lily off after a weekend visit. "How many times did you switch?" He paused at the door. "Don't do this to yourself, Ava. I need to know." He sighed. "Maybe a dozen times. Over 3 years. A dozen times. 12 instances where I'd been intimate with a man I hadn't consented to be with. 12 violations disguised as my marriage." "Was he there when Lily was conceived?" The question had haunted me since the day I found out. Marcus looked at me directly for the first time in months. "No, she's mine. I swear on my life." I wanted to believe him. I had to believe him. The alternative was unthinkable. 6 months after the divorce, I was grocery shopping when I spotted a familiar profile in the cereal aisle. The set of the shoulders, the way he stood, it was Marcus. Or Malcolm. One of them. I froze, cart half filled with produce and Lily's favorite apple juice. Part of me wanted to turn and walk the other way, but a stronger part needed to know which twin it was. I approached slowly. Marcus? He turned, and for a split second, I saw surprise flicker across his face before it settled into something neutral. Ava, hi. Something in his voice told me immediately. You're not Marcus. Malcolm had the decency to look uncomfortable. No, I'm not. We stood there awkwardly, surrounded by cheerful boxes of cereal. Lily was at preschool. It was just the two of us. You should go, I said finally. Can we talk first, please? I should have said no, should have walked away. But there were questions that had been eating at me for months. Questions only Malcolm could answer. We sat at the store's small cafe area, 2 paper cups of mediocre coffee between us. I've been in therapy, he started. We both have. Good for you. I know you won't believe this, but I never wanted to hurt you. I laughed, a harsh sound that made an elderly woman at the next table glance over. You slept with me while pretending to be my husband. What exactly did you think would happen? Malcolm stared into his coffee. It wasn't just about sex. You have to understand. Marcus and we've been doing this our whole lives. Trading places, being each other. It started as a game when we were kids. This wasn't a game. No, he agreed. It became something else. Something sick. I see that now. I studied his face, identical to the man I'd loved, yet somehow different in ways I couldn't articulate. Had I ever truly seen either of them clearly? Why did you message me after the divorce? That thing about liking me more than he did? He winced. That was cruel. I was angry at Marcus for agreeing to end it, for choosing you and Lily over our arrangement. So you decided to twist the knife? I'm not proud of it. We sat in silence for a moment. Then I asked the question that had been tormenting me. How did I not know? How did I not feel the difference? Malcolm looked uncomfortable. You did, sometimes. You'd ask Marcus if he was feeling okay. Tell him he seemed different. But then you'd convince yourself it was nothing. The revelation hit me like a physical blow. All those moments when something felt off, when Marcus seemed slightly out of character, I had noticed. On some level, I had known. Did you ever consider what this would do to me? To find out the person I trusted most had violated that trust in the most fundamental way possible? We didn't think about it like that, he admitted. We thought of it as sharing parts of our lives, like we always had. Marcus getting a break sometimes. Me getting to experience what it was like to be settled, have a family, at my expense. Yes, he said simply, at your expense. I stood up, unable to sit across from him any longer. I have to go. Ava, he called as I turned away. For what it's worth, he really does love you. In his way. I looked back at him. His way isn't enough. That night, I called my sister and told her everything. The words came tumbling out. All the hurt, the confusion, the shame. She listened without interrupting, then said something that stuck with me. This isn't about you not being observant enough, or loving enough, or anything else. This is about 2 damaged people who never developed proper boundaries with each other. She was right. This wasn't my failure. It was theirs. The year after the divorce, I received a letter from Marcus. Not an email or a text, an actual handwritten letter, 8 pages long. He explained how the switching had started in childhood, how their parents had encouraged their connection, rarely treating them as individuals, how they developed this warped sense that they were interchangeable, how, over time, the boundary between them had blurred until sometimes they weren't sure where one ended and the other began. He wrote about the therapy he was doing, the distance he'd put between himself and Malcolm. He wasn't asking for forgiveness or reconciliation. He just wanted me to understand. I know now that what we did was a violation. He wrote. Not just of your trust, but of your autonomy. Your right to choose who you share yourself with. I'll spend the rest of my life trying to understand why I thought it was okay. Why I didn't see how deeply wrong it was. I didn't respond to the letter, but I kept it, tucked away in a drawer. 2 years post-divorce. I ran into Marcus at Lily's school play. She was playing a tree in a forest-themed production. He was sitting 3 rows behind me. Afterward, we stood awkwardly in the school hallway while Lily showed off her costume to her friends. You look good, he said. I am good, I replied, surprised to find it was true. The sharp edges of the trauma had softened, not gone, but manageable now. Malcolm moved to Seattle, he offered. We talk once a month. On the phone only. I nodded, unsure what to say to that. I've been seeing someone, I said finally. For about 6 months now. Marcus looked genuinely happy for me. That's great, Ava. Really? He's nothing like you, I added, then immediately regretted how it sounded, but Marcus just smiled sadly. Good, that's good. As we watched Lily run around with her classmates, leaves still pinned to her costume, I felt an unexpected moment of peace. Not forgiveness, I wasn't sure I'd ever get there, but a kind of acceptance. Can I ask you something? I said. Anything. Were you ever jealous? When he was with me? Marcus was quiet for so long I thought he might not answer. No, he said finally. And that's the most messed up part of all of this. It felt normal, like he was just an extension of me. Later that night, as I lay in bed next to Jason, my new partner, a kind man with no siblings at all, I thought about identity, about how we present ourselves to the world, the faces we wear and the ones we keep hidden. Marcus and Malcolm had shared a face but fractured identities. 2 people who never fully separated, never became whole on their own. I still dream about it sometimes. In the dream, I'm with Marcus, or I think it's Marcus, and suddenly his face shifts, becomes unfamiliar while remaining exactly the same. I wake up disoriented, questioning what's real, but those nights are becoming rarer and on the good days, I'm learning to trust again. To believe that the face I see is the only one there, that the man beside me is exactly who he appears to be.